Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful March the 6th, 2019. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if it's beautiful, but it's cold down here. You know, I guess the president was right when he said there's no global warming. I mean, you know, we had 28 degrees down here, Charlton. But,
wow.
But on a more serious note, Charlton, I want to, you know, give our thoughts and prayers out to the great Alex Trebek, game show host from Jeopardy, who has taught many Americans what education is all about, Charlton, for the 40 years that he has been on television.
Yeah.
Today he announced that he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. This horrific disease, Charlton, affects some 50,000 Americans every year. That's why it's very important for everybody, not just athletes, but everybody, to get your yearly physical, to go to the doctor. I know that the Republicans didn't want you to have health care because they wanted to abolish Obamacare, to eliminate the access to many Americans, Charlton, from health care. But cancer is very serious, Charlton, and it comes in so many stages, and it doesn't have an age. It's like Father Time, Charlton. You know, it's something that's very difficult to defeat. Yeah. But early detection can help save your life, Charlton. So I you know, reach out to all Americans, male, female, young, old. Go to the doctor. Get yourself screened. Have a checkup. Find out what health condition you're in. You might think that you're in great condition, Charlton, but all of a sudden you have something that if you don't get it looked at can end your life, Charlton. So Alex Trebek, you'll want to give all our thoughts and prayers to him, Charlton, for making America aware that anybody can be afflicted by this disease, Charlton. And go to your doctor as soon as you can and schedule yourself a checkup.
Amen to that. I hope that everybody can heed that warning. It's always good when you get preventive maintenance, and we got to do that by getting our checkups too. So, again, thoughts and prayers are with Trebek and his family, and for all people who are out there, make sure you heed those warnings. I do want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a host of Cadillac cars. You know, and just a side note also, just today, I was watching the news early this morning. I think it was ABC News, and Robin Roberts and Strahan that played for the Giants. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I know what I read. They were saying, they scrolled across the bottom of the screen, that there is a vaccine that had been used that had wiped out the HIV virus. Now, I saw it on ABC News. It scrolled across the bottom of the screen. It's in a trial setting. So people talk about going to doctors, and sometimes I've even heard people say they don't want to know if they have anything. That's dumb. The only way you can figure things out is that you can find out what's going on, you can prevent it. But if that's what it, I mean, I know I saw it because I recorded it, and I know it was on the ABC Morning News. And I want to say it was in Switzerland, but they're in trials. It's eliminated the HIV virus, which is incredible, especially for people all over the world, especially in Northern California. It's not a stigma. Science can eradicate so many issues, just like you mentioned with Alex Trebek, Big C. You don't know what's going on unless you go to the doctor. And I know they're always telling men to go get your colon check, right? And they're telling women to get the mammograms. But the one thing they'll always ask is, do you have insurance? I know it's important. I have insurance, thank God. I hadn't always had it, Big C. But what do we say to people that don't have insurance, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as I say, apply. You know, they have the Affordable Care Act, which is still in place. The Republicans weren't able to eradicate it, Charlton, so many Americans still have the ability to go out and get affordable health care. I did see some remnants of that story that you're talking about yesterday, Charlton, and it actually happened over in Germany, and it happened last year, where it was done through a bone marrow transplant.
Yeah.
And, you know, they had two gentlemen, Charlton, that they eradicated the AIDS virus from their body do this bone marrow transplant.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, they did an interview with one male, they had a great interview with him, Charlton, and it was very, poignant to see something like that. We know how it's afflicted so many people, Charlton, all over the world. Not just older people, Charlton. Children are born with AIDS, and not by their own doing.
Yeah.
So this has been a horrific disease, Charlton, that has affected millions and millions around the world. And I hope that through this clinical and trial study, Charlton, that it's something that will save many more lives, Charlton, around the world, that they can make this where it's affordable, Charlton, for everybody.
Yeah.
Because as you talked about, medical science, Charlton, is an experiment in the making, Charlton. And it's always there to advance life.
Yeah.
And if you can eradicate this horrific disease, Charlton, that claims so many people starting in the 70s and 80s, Charlton, it's been kept under control for the most part over the last decade, Charlton, but still there's many loss of life behind this. But if you can improve the quality of life for anyone around the world, Charlton.
Yeah.
And that's always thanks to medical science.
Thanks to medical science. Dr. Salk helped create the polio vaccine to cure that, and that was a disease that ravaged, many people throughout the world. So I believe in science. Now, I love what we can bring up. We're the Big C Sports Show, number one sports show in the universe, and we're talking about science and how Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you were just saying, Big C, the Skyhook Foundation. Now think about the play on words, the Skyhook Foundation. Juxtapose that to shooting a basket. Because we told people, the black community been told shut up and dribble. But the Skyhook Foundation, he's not getting kids to shoot jump shots, Big C. I mean, they can do that too. But Kareem's whole thing, going back to the late Muhammad Ali, about teaching kids math and science. If there's anything that can save young people, especially African Americans, we got to know math and science more than how big and fast somebody is and how fast can he run the 40. And, there's a guy's vertical leap is 40 inches. This guy bench presses 400 pounds. That's what mainstream wants to hear when they go to talk to black people. But to have, because of the Skyhook Foundation, can you imagine the young black kids, and other kids too, that can talk about math and science, like how to cure diseases? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, black doctors and scientists have always been in the forefront of curing disease and debilitating situations in the United States. They were just never able to patent their findings, Charlton. They were never able to be the spokesperson to go out and hold a press conference because of racial divide in this country.
Yeah.
But now that we no longer have that, Charlton, many advances in medical science over the decades have been breakthroughs by African Americans, Charlton, in this country and around the world.
Yeah.
And you speak about Kareem's Skyhook Foundation, where he wants young children to study math, science, English. These are the things that are the basis of a successful society, Charlton.
Yeah.
We're a sports show like many other shows, Charlton, but sports is only a small part of life.
Yeah.
And only a few people can play sports.
Yeah.
We talk about the HIV virus, Charlton. Magic Johnson put more of a face on the HIV virus, Charlton, than anybody else in American history.
Yeah.
Even though there's many great performers and all that had lost their lives from that, but because sports had a main figure, Charlton, who came down with the virus, Magic Johnson, it put a face to the virus, Charlton, of humanness.
Yeah.
And people all of a sudden became sympathetic to it, Charlton.
Yeah.
Where before it was like, only certain type of people ended up with this, Charlton, which wasn't true.
Yep.
But because of sports, it put it in the forefront of America's eyes, Charlton, because now they could see somebody that they beloved across this country and around the world that was afflicted by this.
Yeah.
But, he has survived through medication, Charlton, through doctors, through experimentation.
Yeah.
And the disease has become more and more pushed back over the years since that. So we look at something horrific as that, and we look at an athlete who brought worldwide awareness more than anybody else to it, Charlton.
Yeah, and that's incredible. It's about learning. It's about educating ourselves and making sure that we know more than how to shoot a jump shot. And I also want to credit young people. We love so much about Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. We hear about them all the time. when it comes to financial accomplishments, especially a guy like Warren Moon. A phenomenal question to ask Warren Moon, Big C. I don't know how old he is. I'm going to say he's in his high 70s, maybe early 80s. A billionaire, multi-billionaire. If he could get rid of the billions in order to be 21 again, would he do it? I think the answer he would probably say is yes. Just because life is something that has no price tag on it. We can all get old, but it's how we live, not how long we live. I want to say congratulations to Kylie Jenner. Now, don't knock me, Big C, because I do watch the Kardashians. I watch it in my closet. But I want to. This is it's a stupid thing I'm going to say, but I've said a lot of stupid things. Oftentimes, you look at that family, and they're always tied to a black man. Now, Kylie's become the earliest young person to become a billionaire, allegedly. I'm sure that a lot of people got money and they don't tell everybody. But to become a billionaire mostly through cosmetics. And that has a family. Now, just hear me out. For the most part, they only date black men. Now, you say, well, what's that got to do becoming a billionaire? I'm just saying, Big C, was it about women who have more money than anybody in the universe, and they tend to look black? I just want to ask your thoughts. I'm not being flippant, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, ironically, her boyfriend is black, Charleston.
Yeah, I know.
Simmons from the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah.
But when you think about Kylie Jenner becoming on the Forbes list, Charlton, of the youngest billionaire, Charlton, it wasn't like she started from the ground up.
Right.
She wasn't born poor. She's always had a silver spoon in her mouth.
Yeah.
Her parents were rich.
Yeah.
Both of them. So, she had an early head start, Charlton, in life. So she's been making money since she was a young girl.
Yeah.
And so to ascend to this level, it's always a tremendous feat.
Yeah.
But you got to look at somebody, Charlton, who did not have help.
Yeah.
When you want to look at these situations. Yes, I mean, $1 billion is a huge accomplishment.
I'll take it.
Regardless of what age you are in life, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, to say, well, she did it on her own, I beg to differ on that, Charlton, because she had great assistance. I mean, you look at the management that her mother has put forth over the years, Charlton, in taking care of her daughters and sons, Charlton, making sure that they optimize all opportunities for finances.
Yeah.
Every family should only be so lucky to have that type of matriarch, Charlton, that would push them through and go out and know how to negotiate deals in their children's behalf.
Yeah.
Her father also, Charlton, former Olympian Bruce Jenner, Charlton, there was a lot of money that came from that side.
Yeah.
So it's easy when you're born and you're a millionaire to get a head start on something, Charlton. It makes it easy. You don't know what it's like to have to worry about where your meals are coming from, Charlton. Are you going to be able to, get a new pair of shoes, new pants, new dress, as some young ladies in this country does?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's a great accomplishment, but you also got to look at the head start that somebody has in accomplishing this.
Yeah.
If you had to put another child in that environment, Charlton, would they have been able to ascend to that amount of success also?
Yeah, then that's incredible. I think also when you look at the mother, the matriarch of that family, I believe the late Robert Kardashian, he was one of O.J. Simpson's lawyers. He's passed on. I think he had some hands in a record deal where he would get royalties forever. And I believe it was when music's played. I believe that's the case. I'm not 100% sure.
Charlton, he created R&R, which is radio and records.
Yeah.
And he created that. That became the worldwide tracking system for how many spins were put on a record at a radio station.
Yeah.
And how royalties were created from those spins, Charlton. Robert Kardashian created that as well as many other entities that he was involved in.
Yeah.
But by that, Charlton, every time that a record plays on the radio, the family receives royalties from it, Charlton.
Yeah.
So he created that system just like the Kennedy family with Joseph Kennedy, the patriarch of that family, Charlton,
Yeah.
after Prohibition. He cut a deal with the federal government that the Kennedy family would receive 2.5 cents off of every bottle of liquor that was sold in America.
That's right.
For purgatory.
Yeah.
So that as long as the sun shines, the Kennedy family makes 2.5 cents off of every drink that somebody has at a bar at home, Charlton, when they open that bottle with that label across the top of it.
Yeah, I'm sure the Rush Limbaugh's helped add a lot of what they call zeros to their bank account, Big C. So we know all's fair in love and war if you get the opportunity to do anything. You want to hold on to people that have leadership skills. I want to bring up something because family and lineage, Big C. We look at the White House, POTUS and his daughter, and they're anti-nepotism laws for a reason, okay? For them to have, security clearance at the White House, and now they're all being, under investigation for whatever shenanigans they're going to be discovered. Talk about how it's not just the Kardashians. It's not just anybody that has a family that started out in business, but your thought on POTUS, how his son-in-law, his daughter, they've all been given the clearance. They were never voted in the office, though. They're people that came on his coattails, Big C, in the help of Russia. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you would think that security clearances would be with people who have political backgrounds, Charlton, or military or security backgrounds.
Yeah.
But you're talking about giving security clearance, Charlton, to business people.
Yep.
And that's where the problem lies, Charlton, because these are people who are used to cutting deals around the world in other countries. And so you're going to have a White House security clearance as a civilian who does business outside. And this comes with the emolument clause, Charlton.
Yep.
That if you're in private business, Charlton, you can't have a security clearance.
Exactly.
You should not have a security clearance because, when we look at where America is going financially now, and we know that his family is world dealings, Charlton, financially all over the place.
Yeah.
Today, the United States hit its largest trade deficit in history.
Wow.
The president will go out and tell you that, the country is doing well, but the U.S. hit $861 billion trade deficit, Charlton.
Wow.
The largest in history. That has gone up 10% over the last year, Charlton. You think about 10% over the last year that the United States has lost $90 billion in trade deficit over the last year. Not only that, Charlton, GM closed up one of its plants that had been open for 50 years today.
In
it
Ohio.
rolled off the last car to come off that assembly line, a Chevy Volt.
Wow.
And this is under the president's new policy, talking about employment figures, how they're going up.
Yeah.
And the president will tell you that the deficit is going down, but the numbers are going the opposite way. So I don't know if it's fake news or a lie. I don't know how you differentiate between the two of them.
Yeah.
But when you look at where things are going, in all Americans, Charlton, in their tax returns this year, are going to receive less money, and a lot are going to owe money, Charlton, because of this huge tax break that he gave everybody that's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All those billionaires are getting a huge tax break. The layman person, Charlton, is going to pay more taxes and get less back.
Yeah.
So, but, when you look at this situation with his family, Charlton, this is a slippery slope when you're dealing with it. He's always talked about putting these tariffs on China.
Yeah.
Yet his daughter does the majority of her business with China.
Yeah.
You look at his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, does a lot of business in the Middle East, especially with Saudi Arabia and Israel, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so if you have a security clearance, can't you take secure information to these people that you're doing business with to let them know what may be happening within this country?
Yeah, they can. It's amazing how, again, you just talked about it earlier. How do people get ahead? Is through nepotism, cronyism. It's worked that way for a lot of people around the world, especially the United States. Many of those people have been Caucasian. They didn't earn it. They were just, the society was set up for them to succeed. But anyone has a chance to get the best education you can. And always, no matter what anybody says to you, just keep on trying. Keep showing up every day. Keep doing the best you can. And eventually, you keep hitting on that rock and it's going to crack open for you. And that's how most people succeed. Big C, I want to look at something when you talk about success. College basketball tournament starting this week in Kansas for the first time in 15 years. They will not have a share of the Big 12 title. That streak ended at 14 consecutive years. Talk about the consistency of 14 years doing anything back to back to back, 14 years, especially in Kansas. You would think that would be a record for UCLA. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, and being out there on the prairie, and everybody wonders, how does players go to Kansas? Well, we saw Adidas just had 3 executives convicted. Of funneling money.
Yeah.
And that was one of the schools. The coach got paid, and one of the players lost his scholarship at Kansas, Charlton, and he was the best player on the team, and that attributed to Kansas, streak being broken at 14 consecutive shares, or at least outright Big 12 championships.
Yeah.
But when you think about that, how will the players look upon the current players, the past players look upon the current players? And, we held this streak for 14 years. You think about how many players went through that university, Charlton, to uphold that streak of being conference champions. And this time, for the first time in 15 years, Kansas will not be receiving a championship ring for its basketball team.
Yeah.
I mean, out in Kansas, you can watch a dog run away for 3 days. It's so flat, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But, the lifeblood of Rock Chalk Jayhawk has been the basketball program. And, it started back in the days of the great Wilt Chamberlain when he migrated out to Kansas, Charlton, in the mid-'50s and put that program on the map.
Yeah, I think when Wilt was in Kansas, he went to the Wizard of Oz, and he asked the Wizard said, "So what do you want, Wilt?" Wilt said, "I want stamina." That's what Wilt wanted. Thinking of stamina, UCLA. I mean, of the teams all over the country that keep winning, think about, I'm going to say, just say 16 college basketball programs or records that may never be broken. We talked about Kareem and the Skyhook Foundation. Think about UCLA, Kansas, yes, 14 consecutive winning their conference in the Big 12. But UCLA back in the day, 7 consecutive national championships from 1967 to 1973. Is one thing to win your conference. Imagine 7 consecutive national championships. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, I mean, it had to be depressing for that 8th year when that team didn't win the national championship.
Losers.
You're looking at it like, wow, this program is the greatest in the world, and all of a sudden we can't uphold our end of it, Charleston.
Yeah.
7 consecutive years under the great John Wooden, the Wizard of Westwood, Charleston, national titles.
Yeah.
We look at the New England Patriots, going to consecutive Super Bowls, Charleston, 4 out of the last 5, winning 6 out of 9. But here's UCLA Bruins, Charlton, that won 7 consecutive national championships. They actually won 10 under John Wooden in total.
Yeah.
But that's a feat, Charlton, that no one will ever get close to 7 consecutive national titles.
Yeah, that's incredible. Big C, UCLA, same program. This must hurt when they hear this now, because Westwood, that was college basketball. It's not about the powers in the East or it's in the South now or the Midwest. It was UCLA and the rest. 88 consecutive wins over the course of 4 seasons in the 1970s. It's hard to win 88 games in anything, let alone everybody's gunning for you. When you're the top dog, imagine Duke, how hard it was to stay on top as the number 1 team in the country. It lasted for them about a week, maybe week and a half. Tennessee was up there for a while. They got knocked off Gonzaga. They're back there now. But winning 88 games in a row when everybody's gunning for you, Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, there will never be a basketball team or a basketball player that wins 88 consecutive games again on the men's level. Players just don't stay around. This is back in the days, Charlton, when freshman eligibility didn't even exist at the time. It came later on.
Yeah.
So, you were always starting as a sophomore, but to go over a 4-year span, Charlton, and not lose a game. And what was the most ironic part about that, Charlton? That streak started with a victory over Notre Dame, and it ended with a loss to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
In that streak.
Yep. Sometimes you owe money or you owe people, and you got to pay the favor back. Make sure if you understand the touchdown Jesus on the outside of Notre Dame's pavilion. Prior to that, California is amazing because California right now is lacking for teams that are going to compete for a championship. But prior to what UCLA was doing in the 70s, would you believe University of San Francisco, 60 wins, the great Bill Russell, and the San Francisco Dons, Big C, they were the UCLA of North. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, it's ironic. The 2 longest streaks in men's college basketball came from California, which used to be the mecca of college basketball from the 50s through the 80s, Charlton. Then all of a sudden it started to swing to the East Coast when television came into play. Is that it opened up Pandora, Charlton, that basketball could be seen everywhere. But you talk about 2 great programs, Charlton. Bill Russell, one of the all-time greats in the NBA, Charlton. More championships than anybody in college, in pro, and Olympic basketball history. Then not only that, Charlton, all these programs were led by big men. UCLA had Al Cindor, followed by Walton to continue that legacy. So 3 of the NBA's all-time great players, Charlton, were part of 2 of the longest streaks in college basketball history.
Very good point, Big C. LSU's Pete Maravich, career scoring average That good old boy knocked down 42 points a game. No three-point shot back in the day. He had 28 50-point games during his career. With no three-point shots, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, everybody's raving this year about James Harden's feat in the NBA. His 30 consecutive scoring point games, Charlton.
Yep.
I think it ended at 32.
Yeah.
But, you look back upon the great Pete Maravich, Charlton, back when he was in the SEC at LSU, averaging 42 points a game, Charlton, over a 3-year span. Without a two-point shot, Charlton, Pistol Pete was just amazing.
Amazing.
This is a guy, when they talk about the great scorers, Charlton, of all time,
yeah.
Imagine how his game would have transcended in today's NBA, Charlton, where you can't touch somebody
yep.
and as accurate as a sharpshooter he was when he was in college.
Yeah, that would have been amazing, basically. May have had to add another digit to the scoreboard. You think of college players, Rennell College, Jack Taylor, he had a single-game scoring record, 138 points. And no, he was not doing it on video games. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about one player, Charlton, pushing in 138 points in one single contest.
Yep.
That's astonishing.
Yeah.
Just even think about it. But his teammates kept feeding him when you have a hot hand. I mean, we've reveled this year with the number of NBA players, Charlton, that have scored over 50 points in a game. And I think James Harden had a 60-point outing in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks, and just about everybody scored 60 in Madison Square Garden. But to have a guard on the college level, Charlton,
yeah.
He had 28 three-point shots that he made during that contest. Some players don't hit 28 three-point shots in a year.
In a year, yeah. That good boy was laying up down, Big C. Oklahoma, Mookie Blaylock, single-game steals, 13 in a game. There's a lot of guys don't get 13 in a month. He got it in one game. Big C, the great Mookie Blaylock.
Well, we better hope there was no police around the building just doing all those steps. But to be able to pick the pocket of an opposing team, Charlton, 13 times on a college level, Charlton, any level of basketball, it shows how great defensive players are. But, we've kind of lost those great defensive players. I mean, James Harden didn't learn from him.
No. He sure didn't learn from Big C. That's funny. Alabama's Michael Gladness, Alabama A&M Michael Gladness, single game block, 16, Big C, in one game. You would think he was trying to do it on purpose, and he was, but 16 blocks. Patrick Ewing was the most dominant shot blocker I saw. He played Georgetown back in the day during the March Madness run. I thought, man, that guy was amazing. But see, he didn't have 16 in the game like Gladness. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Gladness, a 6'11" center, Charlton, at Alabama A&M. Just think if he would have been, Dikembe Mutombo, he would have wagged his finger off by the end of the night.
Yeah.
No, not in here. But 16 block shots. You talk about an intimidator in the paint, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is the kind of guy that you could build a franchise around if he'd have made it to the NBA.
Yeah, that's true, Big C. Lincoln University's largest margin of victory in a game, 123 points, December of 2006, a 201-78 victory over Ohio State Marion. That's incredible that they even have scoreboards that go, NBA players, they always want to go in the All-Star game. Can we get to 200 points? Well, Lincoln University did it back in 2006. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'm wondering if they can put the 2 up there on the scoreboard. I never
now you know.
could imagine watching a game where a team, you get 2 teams together, Charlton, and you score 200 points.
Yeah.
One team scores 201 points. I mean, as a coach, how do you go in and address your players on the losing side?
Yeah.
Do you say, guys, we played well tonight, but we gave up 201 points?
Yeah, that's difficult to face up to that defensive pressure, Big C. Northern Illinois, fewest points in the first half. 4 points when they faced Eastern Michigan. They shot 1 of 31 from the field. In the first half, included 29 straight missed shots. You can't shoot 1 for 31 if you try it, Big C. How they do that with trying, your thoughts?
Well, I'm trying to figure out how do you miss 29 consecutive shots, Charlton? Were they playing blindfolded or whatever?
Blindfolded.
But 4 points in a basketball game, you can shoot a 3 and get fouled and go to the free throw line, Charlton, and make that a 4-point play. But, how do you motivate your players as a coach when you can't make a basket?
Yeah, and you think about guys that are making baskets. Tyler Hansbrough, North Carolina. Think about it. 982 free throws over his 4-year college career and 142 games played. You know how much Harden goes to the line? I don't know if Harden goes to the line as much as anybody else in the league. But Hasbro out of college, North Carolina, of all schools, 982 free throws is amazing. You would think it'd be a guy like Jordan because every time you get close to him, they call the foul. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the most impressive stat that you see during his 4-year college career,
4 years,
which is something we don't see any longer from the big-time college players, the one and done, Charlton. They might make 92 free throws in their career.
Yeah.
But Tyler Hansbrough, that's an attestment to the college athlete, Charlton, the guy who makes the commitment to going to college, Charlton, and being a student athlete and spending 4 years at your university.
Yeah, he definitely did the right way, Big C. When you think about the most points in the game, I still think the UNLV Running Rebels, because the name Running Rebels made a lot of sense under the late Jerry Tarkanian. But the most points scored in a half by both teams, 172. Loyola Marymount out of California, 86 points. Gonzaga, the number 1 team in the country now, 86. That was in 1989, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you're talking about trading baskets.
Yeah.
That back and forth. I mean, who missed? I mean, if you missed the basket, you probably went to the bench. But,
yeah.
You talk about fans being entertained, Charlton. When we look at college games now, we don't get that type of output, Charlton, in an entire game.
No, you don't.
But this was a great team that was coached by Paul Westhead, Charlton,
yep,
who had won an NBA title coaching the Los Angeles Lakers early on prior to Magic Johnson getting there, Charlton. And he took his talents to Loyola Marymount, Charlton,
yep,
and made the greatest offensive scoring team in college basketball at that time.
Yep. Well, when you think about that and how many points, you got the biggest lead at the start of a game for anyone in the universe to have the biggest lead of 44-0, Southern University versus Champion Christian, December of 2013. They were not playing hard enough for defense, Big C. Your thoughts?
As a team and you're down 44 points, I mean, if you get down 10, you're like, coach got to call a timeout.
Timeout.
You're down 20 and you're wondering what's going wrong.
Yeah.
Somebody at some point has to take a shot, Charlton,
yep,
in the game,
Yeah.
But to be down 44 points, how do you say, guys, we're still in this?
Yeah, that's incredible. We're so fortunate we can see, we have Sports Center, we have Big C Sports, we have a lot of programs you can listen to time and time again to see what you missed. But the most combined points by 2 opposing players in one game, 115 points. The great Pete Maravich, 64 out of LSU. Dan Issel, 51 out of Kentucky. That was way back in February 1970, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, these 2 players went on to become 2 of the NBA's all-time greats. Pete Maravich, played a great career with the New Orleans Jazz and the Atlanta Hawks, Charlton.
Yep.
Dan Issel was a staple with the Denver Nuggets. And you think about that output of 2 players, Charlton, 64 and 51 points in one game. We see games now, Charlton, that's the final score, 61-54.
Yeah, that's incredible, Big C. Most points in the first career college game, 56 points. The great Lou Alcindor, a.k.a. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, at UCLA versus USC, December 1966, Big C. 56 points was a nice day's work, Big C, for your first game. Your thoughts?
And being a sophomore, Charlton, in his first college game coming out, laying the foundation for being the most dominant player all time, Charlton, and his scoring didn't end at that point. By the time he left UCLA and left the NBA, he's the NBA's still all-time leading scorer to this day. Yeah,
it's incredible. You can't say enough about him. However, somebody that competed against him and kind of even let him use some of his suits, the most rebounds in his first career college game, the great Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain, 31 rebounds, Kansas versus Northwestern, 1956. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, after Wilt came out and started dominating college basketball in the NBA, they decided they needed to change the rules, and it was too easy for Wilt.
Yep.
The key was only 6 feet wide when Wilt started playing college basketball and in the NBA, Charlton. They soon saw that Wilt had a huge advantage over everybody, and they widened the key. One of the most significant moves in basketball history was created by Wilt Chamberlain.
And I tell you, another player that's a coach right now, they could have used him last night, the great Steve Kerr. You think about making consecutive games, making 3-point field goals. 38 games, that's the great Steve Kerr at the University of Arizona, 1987 through 1988. Boy, they could use his talent now. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I guess that's the reason why the Warriors are the greatest 3-point shooting team in NBA history, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because you had a coach who lit the world on fire when he was at college at the University of Arizona. And you think about 38 consecutive games, knocking down a three, Charlton.
Yep.
We don't get that type of streaks anymore in college basketball. We get players go cold night after night, but 38 consecutive games that Steve Kerr was able to knock one down from the arc.
Now that's amazing. I see why he admires Steph Curry as great as he was even back in college. Back in the day, I'm telling you, the three-point basket is something that people are going to realize when they start saying who can score the most points. Because I think about Pistol Pete Maravich and the great Wilt and Kareem. They didn't have the three-point basket when they were in college, Big C. I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry. And boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, your high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. Big C, I want to touch on a little bit of diversion, just Monday Night Football. You know, Jason Witten's retired from the booth. Now he's returning to the Dallas Cowboys. We talk about players that set records in college and even at the pros. And there's some talk that maybe Peyton Manning, could he be the next analyst on Monday Night Football? I would rather see, I don't know. I think they keep looking for the next Tony Romo. Just give me your thoughts. I don't know if Peyton has the mentality. Obviously, I know he has the knowledge, but that his speaking style doesn't seem like it would fit. That's just my thoughts, Bixie. Your thoughts?
Well, Peyton Manning is a very knowledgeable individual when it comes to the game. We see him all on these insurance commercials, Charlton, where, he has captivated America with his, delivery and everything.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that's missing from any broadcast booth, Charlton, is knowledge of the game, insightfulness.
Yeah.
With Tony Romo, what he had done, Charlton, for, football on Sundays on CBS has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
They thought that Jason Witten might be able to translate into the booth, from the game, and Monday Night Football brought him on, Charlton, and he had more hiccups than he had smooth drinks on the show, okay? But, Peyton Manning, when you're looking for something great, something that will gravitate and everybody wants to pay attention to for knowledge, Peyton Manning would not be a bad choice. I would love to see Booger McFarland, Charlton, given the opportunity to come from the sideline to come up to the booth. I think he was the star on that show, even above Joe Tessitore, Charlton, in the broadcasting of Monday Night Football. Booger McFarland, ABC already has a gym with him, Charlton. Move him into Monday Night's analyst on those games.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent, Big C. When you think about NFL, with the New England Patriots winning their 6th Super Bowl in 9 attempts under the great Tom Brady, consistently restructuring their contract, he's contracted to make a cap-friendly. He's going to be in the top 6 highest-paid quarterbacks this year, hopefully. But our other top-paid quarterbacks, even the top 6, are they willing to restructure their contracts? Everybody says we got to give somebody, like in baseball, Harper, got to break the bank. Machado, got to break the bank. Last I heard, they have no championships whatsoever. Contrast them with Tom Brady, who's looking to renegotiate so they have more money for other players. So will guys like Aaron Rodgers, making $33.5 million a year, Matt Ryan making $30 million a year, Kirk Cousins, your cousin, as you say, making $28 million a year, Garoppolo, $27.5, Matt Stafford, $27.5, Derek Carr for the Raiders making $25 million a year. What is it about Tom Brady that none of those guys have when it comes to making their team better, Big C? Your thoughts?
6 Super Bowl championships. Let's be honest, 6 Super Bowl championships. In this day and age of the me superstar that I got to make the most money, Charlton. Franchises, and I don't blame these players. If they're simple enough to give you $30 million, take the $30 million, Charlton. But as a player, as a team player, and the whole time I was playing football, Charlton, it was all about team. It has all become me. When you look at these alleged elite quarterbacks, Charlton, they can't make the playoffs. It's about me. I have to get my money. And you can't blame anybody in any business, Charlton, for not trying to optimize his income. We see free agency all the time. But the black athletes, Charlton, get blasted. Le'Veon Bell was blasted for not accepting the contract from the Steelers. Antonio Brown is being blasted in the media. They saying, well, the amount of money that he's making.
Yeah.
The last I checked, Charlton, they're not beating up any of these white quarterbacks in the NFL that don't make the playoffs, and they're the highest paid players at their position in the sport.
Yeah.
When you talk about Tom Brady, the biggest reason for Tom Brady's greatness is that his teammates respect him, Charlton.
Yeah.
That here's a guy who has taken pay cut after pay cut, restructured his contract, Charlton, for the last decade.
Yeah.
To make sure that New England can put the personnel around him to help him, Charlton,
Yeah.
ascend to greatness. When you think about 9 Super Bowl appearances, Charlton, all of those quarterbacks you just named do not have 9 Super Bowl appearances between them. And they're the highest 6-paid players in the NFL.
Yeah.
So if ownership understands what New England is, and everybody's talking about we got to get the next Sean McVay. That's what we're looking for as the next head coach, is the Sean McVay. Nobody's looking for the next Tom Brady, Charlton, when it comes to having a quarterback that's team and cap friendly, Charlton.
Yeah.
All these quarterbacks are talking about max money. I look at the next quarterback on the ledger, Charlton, that's due for a big payday, and that's Dak Prescott in Dallas. And everybody's saying, well, he's not a franchise player, Charlton. You named off 6 quarterbacks, Charlton, that did not have the year that Dak Prescott had last year, nor have they had more victories than Dak Prescott in the last 3 years, Charlton. None of those 6 quarterbacks, but they are the highest 6-paid quarterbacks in the NFL.
Wow.
So if these guys want to be great teammates like a Tom Brady, that understand what it takes to win like a Tom Brady, they need to walk into their organization and say, look, I need to restructure my contract.
Yeah.
I think I can throw the ball just as far down the field if I was making $19 million a year.
Yeah.
Instead of $30 million or $27 million, Charlton. This is what organizations need to look at. I'm not against players making money because careers are short, but quarterbacks tend to last longer, Charlton.
Yeah.
You should not pay any quarterback in the NFL more than $1 million a game, Charlton. That's all you should pay them.
Yeah, especially if you start paying them on results, maybe even less than that, Big C. I want to say, just my own 2 cents, you talk about who ABC Monday Night Football should put, in the broadcast booth. We've had what was his name? Frank Gifford was in there, the late Frank Gifford. He was Monday Night Football. I think at a time, Lynn Swan was also, part of that crew, but he was on the sideline.
You've had Keith Jackson. You've had Don Meredith. You've had Frank Gifford. You've had Tony Kornheiser.
Yeah.
You've had Rush Limbaugh. You've had Howard Cosell.
Yeah.
You've had a wealth of talent and non-talent in the booth, Charlton, on Monday Night Football.
Well, I put my hat in the cap for, you got to be prescient. You got to know things that are happening about more than just one thing. I put in Big C Sports, put in Big C. I think if you were in the broadcast booth, and I'm not saying this because I want some of that moonshine you're saying out here with the rain, Big C, but I think anyone in the universe, if you look at the knowledge that you have on many things, that's what I would put my vote for you to be in the broadcast booth Monday Night Football if they want something that's real talk. Look at the NFL Combine that just ended. These top 10 prospects that I'm going to pull up, everybody has their own opinion, that are kind of under the radar. Offensive line, Garrett Bradbury, North Carolina State, 6'3", 306 pounds. He ran 4.9, which is not that fast compared to the guys running 4.4s now. But at 4.9, he benched 40 times, 34 reps on the bench press. I think he's a guy that might be under the radar, though. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, all you got to do is look at your buddies' list of Mel Kiper and Todd McShay.
And go the other way.
Of guys that they had on their list a month ago.
Yeah.
That were the elite players, Charlton, that should go, in the top 10 and top 32 in the draft, Charlton.
Yeah.
And these players that you're talking about were not on that list. But when they get to the combine, Charlton, and you get a chance to show your talent and skill against the alleged elitist players in college football, Charlton, this is where you get an opportunity to shine and show that you should be in more consideration than them.
Well, they're also on the West Coast. Again, this is my opinion, but I think under the radar, offensive tackle Andre Dillard out of Washington State, coached by the great Mike Leach. The last 2 years, they've had some great quarterbacks up at Washington State. Minshew, people know about him. But for every quarterback that's good, you have an offensive line that's keeping him on his feet as opposed to laying on his backside. Andre Dill at Washington State, he's 6'5", he's 315 pounds. Big C, he ran a 4.940. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's showing the athleticism of the big guys now, Charlton. You're thinking about guys consistently over 300 pounds, Charlton, and running sub-5 40s at the combine, Charlton.
Yep.
It shows great athleticism, mobility, and great flexibility, Charlton, which is what you have to have now as an offensive lineman.
Yep, and now we love linemen too, and I know every running back has to have a good lineman. Running back Justice Hill, Oklahoma State, he's a 5'10", 198-pound running back. He ran a 4.440, and then think about it, 21 reps on the bench press, but that 4.4 is fast. But when you think about linemen, that defensive end lineman that we have running them now, you still need someone who's shifty and fast. I like him. He's not a big guy, but I like him. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we spoke about Darren Nelson yesterday, who came out of Stanford. Who was an all-time, yardage leader in the Pac-12 and the NCAA. This is the type of back that he is, Charlton. He's shifty. He played in a passing attack there at Oklahoma State, Charlton, so he has good hands, but he has that ability to get out of the backfield and get on the edge, and that's what you need now in these spread offenses in the NFL.
Yeah, you got to have that, Big C. And you think about another great wide receiver. Again, my opinion, DK Metcalf, he's a wide receiver out of Mississippi. He ran a 4.3 40-yard dash. He's 6'3". He's 228 pounds. He had 27 reps on the bench press, and he has 1.8% body fat. I don't even know if that's healthy. The best I ever had was 6%. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you talk about a freakish athlete, and that 1.8% body fat, Charlton, this is somebody who has a work ethic.
Yeah.
And when you talk about a wide receiver that size, over 220 pounds, Charlton, and running a 4.3 40, he could be an asset in a particular offense in the NFL, Charlton, if you got somebody who can throw the ball deep with some accuracy.
So with 1.8% body fat, you think he would have turned down that meal that POTUS served at the White House, the North Dakota State football team? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he's not lining up at McDonald's and Wendy's and places like that with a body like that.
That's incredible. Tight end, again, my opinion, another player, Noah Fant, Iowa, stands 6'4", 249 pounds. He ran 4.5 in the 40-yard dash, has a 39-inch vertical, and he's doing that with a team that mostly runs the ball. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is somebody Dallas should have been looking at instead of Jason Witten.
Yeah.
This is a young guy that could grow with Zach Prescott.
Yep.
They come from a similar type mold, Charlton. This is a guy that can stretch the field. Jason Witten is not going to stretch the field in Dallas.
No, he may have a hard time stretching his hamstrings, Big C, Jason Witten. I really think Jerry Jones is doing it because he likes him and he wants to be nice to guys that did something for him. The outside linebacker, Brian Burns, Florida State. He's 6'5", 249 pounds, run a 4.5 40-yard dash, has a 36-inch vertical. Florida State's always had some great players, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they had a down year in the program, but the athletic talent is still there on the defensive side of the ball. This is a young man who has the skills that can translate to that NFL game. And with these spread offenses that everybody has, Charlton, he has the ability to lock up man-to-man on a tight end or a running back out of the backfield.
Yeah, and speaking of locking up on tight ends and running backs, people think about Bosa out of Ohio State. But I'm looking at a guy named Devin Bush. He played at Michigan. He reminds me of Singletary. He's 5'11", 234 pounds. That brother won a 4.43 40. He did 21 reps on the bench press. His vertical is 40 inches, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he's one of those under-the-radar athletes. And you think about what Michigan had. They led the country in defense this year, and that was led by Bush.
Yeah.
He's one of those smallish linebackers, Charlton. When you think about what the 49ers used to have at linebacker, when they had Patrick Willis and the other gentleman, I can't remember his name. NaVar Bowman. He comes in that type of package, Charlton, out of Michigan. And you got to realize, Jim Harbaugh coached both of those players at the 49ers, so you know what you're going to get with Bush.
That's right. Now, also on the defensive side, out of Harbaugh's tutelage again, just my opinion, Big C, cornerback David Long at Michigan, 5'11", 196 pounds. If this guy ran about a 4.5 40-yard dash, and 39-inch vertical. They have some very good athletes in Michigan, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, these are guys that you can match up with your bigger receivers in the NFL. You see several teams have receivers that stand over 6'3" in the NFL. And so you need some larger cornerbacks from time to time, Charlton.
Yep.
And he fits that mold.
He fits that mold, Big C. Also, just a couple more guys. And again, everybody has their own opinion. We're not trying to be Kuiper and McShay and the guys that are right about 20% of the time. Google it. Safety Juan Thornhill out of Virginia. He's 6 feet, 205 pounds, ran a 4.40. 4.440, he's laying it down, Big C, at 205 pounds. 21 reps on the bench press. His vertical is 44 inches, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, coming out of Virginia, this is an academic guy.
Yeah.
You know that he's going to be able to transcend into the NFL because he'll be able to understand the scheme differences, in the league, Charlton. And this is what you talk about, the intelligence of players, Charlton. And coming out of University of Virginia and the ACC, that's what you're going to get.
I'm going to give you my final thought. My thought, I love everybody has their own opinion, but defensive end, Montez Sweet, Mississippi State. He's 6'6", 260, running 4.4 40-yard dash time, which is the 9th fastest time at the combine. Big C, as a defensive guy, how does an offensive line or offensive coordinator, how do you plan to stop a guy that's 6'6", 260, that can run off the corner at 4.4, which is faster than most of your running backs? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, if Swift can, translate to the NFL game, he'll have a storied career in the league, Charlton, if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
This is an athlete, Charlton, that you can not only put him down in a three-point stance, but I liken him to a player that everybody thinks is one of the greatest defensive players to ever play the game, Lawrence Taylor, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you look at his physical, dynamics that he possessed, if you put him in a 3-4 defense, Charlton, and you stand him up as a rush end, he would be a nightmare, Charlton, for offensive linemen and running backs.
He's bigger than outside linebacker Lawrence Taylor. Bigger, stronger, faster. Imagine if Taylor had his size. Just imagine, because you got to have Lawrence Taylor's attitude. You can have guys bigger and smaller. Mike Singletary was ferocious. He was about 6 feet in high heels, Big C, but he was still one of the nastiest linebackers that always showed up. I would love to see just a player like him do it on the field and not just when they're measuring a guy. I want to close out our program tonight as we focus on the NBA playoffs, Big C, but we're still getting to the point where we're trying to find out who's going to get in. The West Coast tonight, Boston came in to Golden State and beat the Golden State Warriors, I don't know how, last night over in Oakland. But, those things can happen. I think it was Kerr's biggest loss. And it just doesn't make any sense. Tonight, Denver, they're in LA, Staples Center, everything's amplified. The Lakers tonight at Staples Center with LeBron James. You think about it, he's 13 points shy of passing Michael Jordan for 4th all-time on the NBA's all-scoring list. It would be a shame if they're knocked out of the playoffs on the night that he passes Jordan. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a must-have game, man. It's a conference game, Charlton, in the West when you think about facing Denver. The Lakers have come under so much scrutiny lately because of the media, Charlton, and the team has not done what the media expected of them.
Yeah.
They thought that LeBron James would make everybody better, Charlton, but I think the talent around LeBron James was what it was when he arrived.
Yeah.
And, the talent, Charlton, was a bunch of fans when he showed up. Wow, we got LeBron here, so we can just get a victory just walking out on the floor because LeBron is here. We don't have to play. That's the problem that they're faced with, Charlton, is that the young players have not carried their weight with the Lakers this year. And it's going to be a tough battle against Denver tonight. They're led by Jokic, who is one of the MVP candidates in the league this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
But LeBron James being 13 points behind Michael Jordan for 4th place all-time in the NBA scoring list, he averages 27 points a game, Charlton, so he'll easily surpass Michael Jordan. But the biggest question, Charlton, will he be cheered in Los Angeles or will he be booed in Los Angeles for beating Jordan's record in scoring?
Yeah, and what a fickle crowd we have in LA at times. And tonight's NBA schedule, there's 10 games tonight. Miami's at Charlotte. I'm looking for Miami to, Charlotte's, they're at home, so they might get that win. Minnesota at Detroit, looking at Detroit in that one. Dallas at Washington. I like Washington. San Antonio at Atlanta. The Hawks they can pull an upset at home, but I like San Antonio. Cleveland going into Brooklyn. I like the way Brooklyn plays, especially at home. Philadelphia at Chicago. I like Philly. Utah at New Orleans. Going to go with the Jazz. New York at Phoenix. Don't know who's going to win that game. Might as well put Phoenix on a 3-game win streak, Big C. Boston at Sacramento. Sacramento plays everybody tough at home. Boston coming off of an upset win at Golden State. I would not be surprised if the Kings got that game. Denver at LA. Any thoughts at all, Big C, that we see Denver, take a loss? Because sometimes the league can stage things. We know people don't want to hear that, but is there any chance, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, if the Lakers are to make the playoffs this year, Charlton, they have to beat a contending team, and that's Denver.
Yeah.
If they don't beat Denver tonight at the Staples Center, Charlton, you could just cancel the playoffs for the Lakers. That means that they won't get there at all.
Yeah.
Because Denver is an opponent that they could potentially have to face in the first round, Charlton, if they did make the playoffs. But if they can't beat a top contender in the West, Charlton, they're not going to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's something we got to see. And speaking of playoffs, Big C, I want to swing the bat over to baseball. And sometimes we know people have to do what it takes to get an advantage. I don't know what players do. I know we talked about how the Combine had players that are a lot bigger, stronger, and faster now than they were a couple of years ago. You always have some advantage that players have, and only those players know what they do. Boston Red Sox knuckleball pitcher Stephen Wright, he suspended 80 games Wednesday by the Major League Baseball after testing positive for performance-enhancing substance. Now, why do you got to take something that enhances your performance, Big C? It's not Cialis, it's not all the other enhancing things. It's something that they banned from the league. But I'm not being flippant about that. You don't know what people put in their body that let them perform better, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he was banned for using HGH.
Yeah.
And so many players have used that in all sports, Charlton. And I thought that once you were a grown man, you wasn't going to grow anymore.
Yeah.
But, you have baseball pitchers, Charlton, and you've had them in the past, you still have them in the present, taking these human growth hormones.
Yeah.
Trying to aid their performance. Now, as a pitcher, Charlton, you're always looking for quicker recovery. With your arm, after throwing an outing, Charlton, you're normally getting 4 to 5 days off.
Yeah.
And he was tested randomly during the offseason, Charlton, and that's where he failed the test.
Yeah.
He appealed the test. The test came back positive again, Charlton. So he's going to suffer through an 80-game suspension. Now, the Boston Red Sox, you don't know how this will affect them in the long run, Charlton. They're coming off a World Series championship, Charlton. 5 in the last 18 years, and they're looking to repeat, Charlton.
Yeah.
Will they need this relief pitcher, this knuckleballer, as the season goes on?
Well, even with that thought, Big C, how many other pitchers around the league are eating contaminated meat? Who's that good boy that ate the bad meat? Canelo. Maybe they eat at the same restaurant he ate at. But I want to be honest about this. I know they talk about HGH. Well, but almost every commercial you hear, they're pushing performance-enhancing everything. And I just wonder if some of that has a residual effect on testing positive for a banned substance. Does that make any sense, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at consumption of food in society nowadays, Charlton, everything has growth hormones, whether you're looking at poultry, whether you're looking at beef, whether you're looking at pork.
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be hard to be growth hormone-free, Charlton, when you consume nutrition in America these days.
Yeah.
It's about rapid production of farm animals.
Yeah.
And so depending on how much you consume of a certain product, Charlton, you could test positive for human growth hormones. I know when I was playing, players were always leery of eating poppy seed muffins.
That's right.
Because you would test positive for opioids.
Yeah.
And fail a drug test. So there's so many things in society that you can consume that come over a counter that you did not buy illegally, Charlton.
Yeah.
That can have you fail a drug test.
That's true. And so a lot of people got to know about that, especially when you're taking samples before you go out and compete or get tested. Got to make sure. Last story, Big C. On this date, 1985, the great Mike Tyson, he made his professional debut. 18-year-old kid. He knocked out Hector Mercedes in the first round. Who would have known? We marvel about how big and strong somebody is. Well, Ali was about 6'3", Foreman about 6'5". We talk about some guy being big and strong, and Liston was a big guy. A lot of guys are big. Mike Tyson, at best, was about 5'10", but he probably had the hardest punch in the universe. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you look at, Lennox Lewis, Razor Reddick, both of those fighters, Charlton, was 6'5", 6'6". You look at DeAndre, the guy that's fighting now, he's 6'7". The Klitschko's was 6'8". But Mike Tyson was just vicious.
Yeah.
When you talk about the size of his heart and his will to win, Charlton, in his early years of fighting, he was the most fearful man on the planet.
Yeah.
You didn't even want to walk in the same room with Mike because you thought he might start throwing punches.
Yeah.
But Mike Tyson gave everybody in America something that loves sports, Charlton.
Yeah.
Excitement. I mean, when you sit down for a Mike Tyson fight, you didn't want to miss the opening bell, Charlton, because the fight might be over if you had to go do something.
Yeah.
So you had all your libations, you had all your snacks. You made sure you had made the bathroom run, Charlton, when the Mike Tyson fight came on. You did not want to get out of your seat.
Yeah, and maybe even ate a poppy seed muffin so you could fail your drug test so you wouldn't have to get in the ring with it, Big C. Imagine if you had a promoter and a mentor like the great guy, Drew Boudini Brown. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, we're looking at coming down to crunch time now in NBA basketball, Charlton, and these teams playing tonight and the rest of the week, Charlton, are at critical mass. But the major story out today, Charlton, was in Major League Baseball, where Bryce Harper was out recruiting Mike Trout from the California Angels, who still has 2 years left on his contract.
Yeah.
Well, the media beat up Mike Trout like they beat up LeBron James, Charlton, when they were talking about Anthony Davis. And will Major League Baseball hit him for tampering, for trying to woo another player who's under contract?
Well, I think not, Big C. We never know, but you know what? I want to tell you, Kylie Jenner, listen to Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. As we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.